Hey guys, I'm really sorry I didn't get to read yesterday. It was a very, very busy day. So today I'm going to read chapter 4 of the second book, Further Adventures of Hank the Cowdog. And it's surprised, or you might be even shocked. We went ripping through the corral, Drover in the lead and me coming up along behind. I wasn't used to being in second place, and when we got close enough so I could kind of make out the shape in the pickup, I moved up to my proper place. What about Plato? Is he trembling yet? Drover slowed to a walk. No, he's not, Hank. As a matter of fact, are you sure Plato's a bird dog? Sure, I'm sure. He's got pointed ears. When I get done with him, he's liable not to have any ears at all. And big teeth. But not big enough, Drover. It's common knowledge that bird dog teeth are dull. They kind of look sharp. Looks are deceiving, son. In this business, you'll learn to trust your instincts. I reached the pickup, and right away I caught Beulah's scent. A trainload of flowers could not have smelled sweeter. There was just something about that woman. It's hard to explain. You think a guy like me, hard-boiled, tested in combat, just a whisker away from being a dangerous weapon, you'd think a guy like me wouldn't respond to the softer things in life. But the scent of Beulah did peculiar things to me. Morning, ma'am, and welcome to the ranch. It's a pleasure. I stopped and stared at her. It appeared to me that she had put on a little weight, and her coat looked rough as a cob. What's come over you, Beulah? You've changed and don't have that healthy look about you anymore. I mean, her hair looked terrible, as coarse as straw. Because it was straw. I was talking to a bale of hay in the back end of the pickup bed. I must have followed the wrong scent. I mean, alfalfa hay smells a lot like... Oh, never mind. I kind of meandered toward the front. That eye problem was causing me entirely too much grief. And it was pretty clear that I couldn't depend on Drover to steer me in the right direction. Technically speaking, Drover was second in command on this place. Another way of putting it is that he was last in command. Drover was hopping up and down and spinning in circles. Hi, Beulah. Gosh, it's good to have you here on the ranch. Well, thank you, Drover. It's good to see you boys again. I put a shoulder into Drover and nudged him away. Excuse me, son. I'll handle the woman if you don't mind. I looked up into her face and my old heart began to pound. Mercy. Those big brown eyes, that silky hair, those nice ears, that fine pointed nose. Beulah, before you got here, the day was beautiful. Now that you're here, it's almost unbearable. Well, isn't that nice? She smiled. Thank you, Hank. On behalf of the security division, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the ranch. If there's anything we can do to make your stay more comfortable, more interesting, more exciting, or more anything else your heart desires. Hank, what on earth has happened to your eyes? Oh, just a few routine battle scars, ma'am. We had a little tussle with a silver monster bird this morning, nothing to be alarmed about. Now, if you'd just take a little walk down to the creek, but your eyes, they're crossed. Drover hopped back into the conversation. They sure are. Look at mine, Beulah. I gave him an elbow. It's a temporary affliction, Beulah. Now, I heard a growl and didn't sound like Beulah. Was that you? No, Hank, it's my companion. Was, huh? Well, speaking of your companion, I mean, since you brought the subject up, let me say this. Number one, he ain't exactly welcome on this ranch. Number two, if he can lie still and keep his yap shut, I'll try to ignore him. But number three, if he tries that growl business one more time, I'm liable to feed him for lunch. Would you believe he growled again? How dumb can a bird dog be? Well, I couldn't let that slide, even though I had never had better things to do than to clean Plato's plow. And number 4, you tell your friend to step over here and we'll get this whipping out of the way. All at once, Drover was there beside me. Hank, be careful. I don't think you... I'll handle it, son. You stand by to clean up the bird dog blood. Plato pushed Beulah aside and leaned over the edge of the pickup. That kind of surprised me. I didn't think he'd take it that far. Anyway, he leaned over and he growled again. Turned out that Drover was right. Plato did have sharp teeth, and he did have pointed ears. He changed since the last time I'd seen him. Drover was hopping up and down and whispered in my ear, Hank, I don't think that's Plato. Huh? Is Plato a Doberman Pinscher? A Doberman Pinscher? I glanced up at Plato. It was all clear now. I had made an error. I looked over at Beulah, and she seemed a little uneasy. Who is this impersonator, this imposter? His name is Rufus, and he just moved onto our ranch. And be careful, Hank, because he's very mean. What happened to Plato? He's back at the ranch. He's afraid to come out of the post pile because of Rufus. Rufus took over the conversation. He had kind of a nasty, deep voice. Because I whip him on sight. It's my ranch now, and I don't like bird dogs, and I don't like cow dogs with scabby noses and crossed eyes. And you got anything to say about that? I gave him some thought. Those teeth were awful big and sharp. I figured there's room in this world for a difference of opinion. It just happens that I don't care a lot for Doberman Pinschers, so I guess we're even. I also heard that cow dogs had a yellow streak. I bristled at that, and it must have worried Beulah. Hank, don't pay attention to him. He's just a bully. Don't let him get you into a fight. That's what he wants. She had a point there. All right, Beulah. For you, I'll let it go. Come on, Drover, we've got work to do. And this is the picture of the Doberman Pinscher. Drover took off like a little rocket, heading for the feed barn. I walked away at a dignified pace. I'd gone maybe 20 steps when I heard Rufus snarl. You got a big mouth, Beulah. When I want your opinion, I'll ask for it. My opinion is that you're a brute, and I wish you'd never come to the ranch. Well, you better get used to it, honey bunny, because I'm the main man in your life now. Here, give me a little kiss just to let me know that you really care. I stopped. Keep your paws off me, you animal. Come on, honey, just a little one. Bam! She slapped him. You shouldn't have done that, Beulah. You just shouldn't have done that. I turned around. Rufus bristled up and started towards her, showing all of his teeth. Come here, woman. Don't you touch me. I headed for the ranch. I just changed my mind, Rufus. I don't think I like your attitude. So why don't you just climb down here and I'll give you a kiss you won't forget. He stopped and stared at me. And then he laughed. Ha ha ha, you don't know what you're asking for, cow dog. Just a fair chance to take you apart. He jumped to the ground and faced me. When you go against a Doberman, there ain't no fair chance, just bad, worse, and disastrous. That's the kind of odds I like, Rufus. Come on. Hank, don't do it, Beulah called. Run away. Don't try to be a hero. I took a deep breath and looked at my lady. It ain't a matter of trying, Beulah. To some of us, it just comes natural. I faced the enemy. I was seeing double, which wasn't so good since it was hard to judge which one to fight. I picked the one on the left that sucked in my gut and made a dive for him. It was the wrong one. I took a ferocious bite out of the blue sky, and while I was in the air, Rufus got me, and I can't finish the story. I'm sorry, I hate to leave things hanging, but I just can't tell the rest of it. Maybe Drover will write it in his memoirs one of these days, and you can find out what happened. So go on to chapter 5, but don't expect to find out what happened in the fight. Chapter 5, Top Secret Material. I changed my mind. Might as well go on and tell the truth. I got whooped. There it is, right out in the open, and that's about the awfulest truth I can imagine. In this big land of ours, there's a certain number of dogs that get whooped every day. But for cow dogs and heads of ranch security, it ain't a common occurrence. In fact, to some of us, chances are that if you get whooped, it's not only unpleasant, it's unthinkable. I mean, you spend your life learning in the security business. You learn tactics and strategies. You learn to use your eyes, your nose, and your ears. You learn to cut for signs. You learn the difference between good and evil, and you're devoted to your life, protecting the good. But fellers, it's hard to protect the good and combat evil when an old jack-legged mutt can come onto the ranch and give you a whooping. It sort of undermines my credibility. Maybe I shouldn't pass along any classified information about the fight. I mean, I'm telling you this story. I can tell it any way I choose, and I just might choose to advertise the gloomy facts. What's to stop me from changing things around and saying that I whooped Rufus and ran him off the place with his tail between his legs? Well, in the first place, it's fairly common knowledge that Doberman Pinschers don't have tails because they got chopped off. Don't you ask me why. That's not my department. All I can say is that some dogs get their tails chopped off, and when that happens, it's not possible for them to run off a ranch with their tails between their legs. In the second place, if I change the story around, it would be a big nasty lie. And furthermore, I get the feeling that I'm just rambling to avoid telling you about the fight. All right, it's time to get serious. I'll advise you to sit down, take a deep breath, and get a good hold of your chair, because what follows is liable to be the most electrifying, terrifying, scarifying, mortifying, disturbifying, and shockifying stuff you'll ever read. One last word of warning before you go on. I'll suggest you lock the doors and windows and draw the blinds, and don't tell the kids to read this part. I don't want the kids to know that I got whooped. After you've read this chapter, I want you to get a knife or scissors or whatever and cut it out. All right, enough said. Here we go. Hold on to something stout. Hang on. I am warning you. And we will finish this part on Monday. See ya and have a good weekend.